Bobby Fischer. An 8-time US chess champion, Bobby Fischer made his mark in the 1970s as one of the most skilled and controversial masters of the game. With his famous 1972 victory over Russian Boris Spassky and his youthful good looks and energy, he helped win over a new generation of chess enthusiasts. The definitive child prodigy, the Mozart of chess, an eccentric, reclusive figure, Bobby Fischer has been labeled all of this and more throughout an acclaimed and controversial life behind a chessboard and before the eyes of an adoring public. In an era when the most highly publicized chess matches pit human against computer, Fischer represents the image of an earlier time that stressed the mental and emotional athletics of the game. An 8-time United States chess champion and the holder of several world youngest winner titles, Fischer was a well-known name in chess circles long before his most famous match, the 1972 tournament that pitted him against Boris Spassky of Russia. That tournament played out before millions via television coverage became a less a contest between two gifted players and more a metaphor for Cold War politics. As Fred Waitzkins described it in his book, Searching for Bobby Fischer, each man bore responsibility for his country's national honor. Spassky would be Russia's greatest hero if he won and would fall into disgrace if he didn't. Fischer wanted to annihilate the Russians whom he had hated since he had decided as a teenager that they cheated in international tournaments. If he won, he would instantly become a legend. If he lost, he would be dismissed by many as a crackpot. A new kind of idol. As history relates, Fischer won the tournament and in doing so garnered much more than prize money. With his youthful good looks and unpredictable manner, Fischer helped turn a new generation of young people into chess enthusiasts. Chess clubs proliferated during the early 70s, inspired by Bobby's success and charisma, reported Waitzkin. Mothers pulled their sons off the little league and ferried them to chess lessons. Talented young players with the dreams of Fischer television immortality and big chess money spurned college and conventional career choices to turn professional. Bobby himself, however, was never comfortable with his fame. Born in Chicago in 1943 and raised in Brooklyn, Fischer grew up in a single-parent family. His physicist father having left the family and the country after a 1945 divorce. The boy showed early promise in his chosen field when at age 6 he learned the rules of chess. By age 8, Fischer was competing informally at the Brooklyn Chess Club. Eventually, the youngster caught the eye of chessmaster John Collins, who became his key instructor through the Collins noted in his book My Seven Chess Prodigies. No one person could claim credit for Fischer's talent. Geniuses like Beethoven, Leonardo da Vinci, Shakespeare and Fischer come out of the head of the mythic Greek god Zeus, seem to be genetically programmed, no before instructed. As for formal educational instruction that ended when Fischer was a teenager, he dropped out of school to concentrate on his games. Fischer rose through the junior ranks quickly and at age 13 won the United States Junior Championship, the youngest player to date to have taken the title. From there it was on to the United States Open Championship where he competed against adults. Fischer took that title too at age 14. International play beckoned and by age 17 Fischer became the challenger for the world title and the youngest player ever to receive the title of International Grandmaster. But there was another side of Fischer's success. The young man, for all his brilliance, was considered something of a loose cannon, less than cooperative and publicly scornful and egocentric. He would cancel out of matches unexpectedly, act demanding on tours and maintain grudges that would last years. Fischer once accused the Russian chess professionals of conspiring against him in international tournaments and at one point in the 1960s withdrew for 5 years from international competition. The big match. By 1970, the master player returned to form, building up tournament credits in order to take on the reigning world champion. Fischer longtime nemesis Boris Spassky. In 1972, the arrangements were in place and the chess world buzzed with the prospect of this historic challenge. Iceland was the chosen site, but as the event drew near, Fischer continued to demonstrate the eccentric behavior that had the whole world wondering whether he would show up, as Waitskin put it. For several days, friends reserved space for him on flights to Reykjavik and pleaded with him to go. Plane after plane loaded with passengers waited on the runway, while Fisher took walks and naps or ate sandwiches. Even after he made a last minute arrival in Iceland, Fisher maintained an aggressive presence. He offended Icelanders by calling their country inadequate because of its lack of movie theaters and bowling alleys, wrote Waitskin. He wanted television coverage, but when a television deal was arranged, he refused to play in front of the cameras, claiming that they were too distracting. He forfeited a game and threatened to leave unless Spassky agreed to play in a small room with no audience and no cameras. He argued about the choice of chess table, about his hotel room, about the noise in the auditorium, about the proximity of the audience to the players, and about the lighting. And still, Fischer won the tournament with great style. The chessman's life since that historic match was marked by a period of self-imposed obscurity that lasted nearly 20 years. He lost the world title after refusing to accept the challenge of Anatoly Karpov in 1975. Reports of a disheveled reclusive Fischer living in the worst section of Los Angeles brought out the detective in journalist. Those reporters who could get close to Fisher's friends heard tales of a man who wanted only to be left alone. In 1981, he was picked up by the police for resembling a fugitive bank robber. After spending a night incarcerated, Fisher, using the pseudonym Robert D. James, wrote a pamphlet titled I Was Tortured in the Sedena Jailhouse. According to Sports Illustrated, writer William Neck, the chapter heading included brutally handcuffed, false arrest, insulted, choked, stark naked, no cell phone call, horror cell, isolation and torture. As Waitskin related, the pamphlet became a bestseller in chess clubs, although it doesn't once mention the game. Controversial views, surprising news. In other areas of his life, Fisher demonstrated equally strong, if offbeat convictions. For example, though his mother was Jewish, Fisher maintained decidedly anti-Semitic views, even extolling Nazism. Likewise, the chess champion believed that everything was controlled by the hidden hand, the satanical secret world government, as Knack quoted a Fisher associate. He distrusted doctors for sure the Russian government was out to kill him, and even, according to a McLean article, had his dental fillings replaced because he feared that Soviet agents might be able to transmit damaging rays into his brain through the metal in his teeth. In light of all the controversy surrounding Fisher, it was a surprising announcement in 1992 that he had agreed to take a Spassky in another highly publicized challenge. At stake was $5 million in prize money. But perhaps more notable than the players themselves was the tournament site. The town of Sveti Stefan, in a region of the Yugoslav Republic adjacent to the varying former Republic of Bosnia-Herzegovina. At the time, US President George Bush had imposed economic sanctions on Yugoslavia, sanctions that Fisher defied by taking on a commercial venture. At a press conference, Fisher spat on a letter from the US Treasury Department saying, "This is my answer to threats of fines and imprisonment if he played in Seti Stefan." The 30-game match ended in 15 draws, but Fischer had shown he still had some championship play in him. When the US government handed down an indictment of Fischer in December of 1992, he closed to stay in Eastern Europe. In the mid-1990s, Fischer, the author of several chess books and inventor of a chess timing clock, was reportedly living in Budapest, Hungary, and had a girlfriend in the person of a 19-year-old Hungarian chess star Sita Rajskania. In his searching for Bobby Fischer, Waitzkin wonders about the prospect of his own chess prodigy son growing up to be as unpredictable as Fischer and speculates on Fischer's youth. When his son when his one and only interest was in his game, in the early 50s, a child chess prodigy was perceived as odd rather than gifted. It would have been easier for Fischer for if his genius had been for an admired endeavor like mathematics or playing the piano, in devoting his life to chess from the age of 8. He typecast himself as a weirdo and outcast. He must have felt tremendous pressure from his mother, from his teachers, who said he was wasting his life on a game, and from his schoolmates who were learning about girls, Shakespeare, and football. All this must have driven him further and deeper. Early years. Bobby Fischer was born in Chicago, Illinois on March 9, 1943. His father was a physicist, scientist who studies matter and energy, and his mother, Regina Fischer, worked as a teacher and a nurse. His parents divorced when he was 2 years old and he moved to Brooklyn, New York, with his mother and older sister in 1948. Fischer began playing chess at age 6 when his sister bought a set and they both learned how to play. By age 8, Fischer was competing and receiving lessons at the Brooklyn Chess Club. Chess success. Fischer rose quickly through the junior ranks of chess players, and at age 13 he won the United States Junior Championship, the youngest player to date to have taken the title. Competing against adult, Fischer won the United States Open Championship at age 14. He dropped out of Erasmus High School in Brooklyn at age 16 to concentrate on chess. By the next year, he became a challenger for the world title and the youngest player ever to receive the title of International Grandmaster. But Fischer was often uncooperative and badly behaved. He would cancel out of matches unexpectedly and he held grudges that lasted for years. He withdrew from international competition for 5 years during the 1960s. By 1970, Fischer had made a comeback and had built up enough tournament credits to take on the current world champion, the Russian Boris Spassky. In 1972, the arrangements were made for the match to be held in Reykjavik, Iceland, and chess fans were excited about this historic challenge. As the event drew near, though Fischer continued to behave so oddly that many worried he might not show up for the match. Even after his last-minute arrival, Fischer complained constantly and insulted the country and its people. Still, Fischer beat Spassky and became world champion. Oddball beliefs. Fischer's life after that historic match was marked by a period of nearly 20 years during which few heard from him. He lost the world title after refusing to accept the challenge of Anatoly Karpov in 1975. In 1981, he was arrested because he looked like a bank robber the police were chasing. After spending a night in jail, Fischer wrote a rambling pamphlet titled I Was Tortured in the Sadena Jailhouse. Fischer also demonstrated many offbeat beliefs. For example, though his mother was Jewish, Fischer maintained strongly anti-Semitic, opposed to Jewish people views. He also distrusted doctors, thought that the Russian government was out to kill him, and according to an article in Maclean's, he had his dental fillings replaced because he feared that Soviet agents might be able to transmit damaging rays into his brains through the metal in his teeth. Later years. In 1992, Fischer agreed to take on a Spassky against $5 million in prize money. The match was planned for the town of Sveti Stefan in a region of the Yugoslav Republic near the former Republic of Bosnia-Herzegovina, which had recently been at war. At the time, US President George H.W. Bush had imposed sanctions, the refusal to do business with a group in order to get that group to change its policies on Yugoslavia. This meant that by playing in the match, Fischer would be breaking the law. At a press conference, Fischer spat on a letter from the US Treasury Department that threatened him with fines and imprisonment if he played. The match, which ended in 15 draws, showed that Fischer was still a skilled player. When the US government brought charges against Fischer in December 1992, he chose to stay in Eastern Europe. By the mid 1990s, Fischer, the author of several chess books and inventor of a chess timing clock, was living in Budapest, Hungary, with a 19-year-old girlfriend, Hungarian chess star Zita Cesinsia. In 1999, he gave an interview to a Hungarian radio station in which he complained about Jews. In 2001, there were reports that Fischer was playing chess on the internet under the different name. Thank you.